Did you know that what you wear affects the way you show up in your life? Welcome back to the Crack the Code podcast. I'm your host, Cora Naylor, and I'm super excited today to welcome the fabulous Dorris Burch. Doris is the founder of the Fab Factor, a lifestyle and empowerment brand for women globally to don't be invisible, be fabulous. Author of The Little Black of Being Fabulous, accomplished speaker, transformational coach, publisher, and show host of the Unapologetically Extra Show, as well as a fashion influencer, style vlogger, and runs the lifestyle and fashion website Find Your Fab Factor as creative director, a platform for style inspiration, because what you wear affects the way you show up in your life. And more importantly, she continues to showcase why women need to step into being unapologetically visible, adding, she's confident in her own skin. The fabulous Dorris Burch utilizes her unique styling aesthetics as a fashion statement to empower others to be daring and confident in pursuing their soul-aligned, God-given destiny. So welcome so much, Dorris.
Oh, Cora, thank you for having me.
So excited to talk to you today. This is definitely a new topic for the podcast, so it's super exciting.
Oh, fabulous.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into this whole fashion and, dressing up. And I know for a lot of us, maybe at this age, we haven't been taking care of ourselves in that way. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about how you got there.
Well, for me, honestly, I always tell people I was born with fashion already programmed into my DNA. It's my thing. It's my gifting where I am supposed to always be and shine. And so I knew very early on that I always loved fashion. I knew I was going to major in fashion, and that was just my thing. And so for me, it's a natural part of who I be. And plus I had a mom who was extremely stylish. And so that was, that supported me having that factor in my life really well. But one thing I definitely understood from a very young age is that what you wear affects the way you show up. And as I got older and was in the corporate space, and I just really paid attention to how women portrayed themselves as far as the clothes that they wore. When I worked in retail merchandising and in retailing, women come in stores, and I was always amazed how many women just didn't even know who they wanted to be in the clothes. Like they did not really know what they wanted to wear, and they would find things in it. And one thing about clothing, it will distract or attract.
Hmm.
And the distraction is definitely when a woman has no clue who she is, what her style aesthetic is going to be, and she just uses clothes as a functional means. But clothes, as functional as they are, there would not be this industry as massive as it is, with all types of clothing, if it was just for function. It is supposed to be an extension of who you are and how you show up in the world. And so that's the fabulous part of being, knowing your style, defining what your style is going to be, but that comes after you have defined who you are. And especially at this, women in this next, actually, Julia Land calls it the power decades. And I love that. I love this journey as women get to be still here and functioning on the planet and living and breathing, that this stage becomes the power decades. And I thought, powerful, because we have so much more wisdom than we had when we were younger.
Yeah.
And then if we know who we are, I mean, that is so powerful. That is just so powerful.
Yes, I totally agree. I know a lot of women, we've raised our kids, and now we have so much more wisdom and we can really know where we're going with that. So let's step back though a little bit before we really dive into that. And let people know about some of the other things that you're into, because you haven't always been on a journey for fashion, even though maybe sometimes it's been in the background. And probably as a kid, you were a dress up. I know my kids loved dressing up when they were little. They're boys, but they really liked all the super hero costumes and stuff like that. But you've done a lot of other things as well, like you're authoring books with women and your schooling. So maybe tell us a little bit more of some of your other background.
Well, far as after I stepped out of the corporate space, and I always worked in some form of retail merchandising, either fashion, building materials, or telecommunications in that area. But when I stepped out of corporate, I went into direct sales with a woman company, and it actually opened me up to personal development and expansion. And I always say that was really the groundwork for me to really step into creating a coaching company. So I stepped in 2010 and created a transformational coaching company called the Fab Factor. Well, we really do work with women on extracting their Fab Factor, which is really being in the frequency and energy and the vibe of who you decide to be. But then we also have our message overall in our company is don't be invisible, be fabulous. And so don't be invisible is just a reminder for women to shine their light, to not be invisible, no matter how old you are, to not hide, shrink, play small, dipping your toe into the dreams that you really have within yourself. And fabulous, we have a definition of fabulous is that fabulous is the euphoric feeling that only owning your power and living in it can bring. And so fabulous is everything you want to be, do, and have, because that comes from you living and owning your power. And when women get to that and understand what that looks like for them, then that's when they make all kind of shifts and changes and expansions in their lives. And that was the one thing that happened for me, leaving the corporate space, stepping into my own thing and creating my own company and an entrepreneur. Two different lanes, two different requirements, and shedding all the things that a corporate version self has to have. And when you step into doing your own business, it's based around you and who you decide to be. And a lot of that is rediscovering yourself. And so we do that, and we have women tell their stories in our publishing division. And so as an author, and yeah, but my dream has always been, how do I bring back fashion? How does fashion fit my life as it is today without me having to go back into corporate the only way I knew before? And anytime you're ready to step into your dream, one thing I will say, it is a way has already been made and available. It's just seeing it and just giving yourself permission to step into it.
Yes. And actually, I think it's really good timing because of what the world's been going through in the last few years. Many of us have gotten lazy with how we're dressing because we've been home for so long and we've gotten used to wearing the pajamas and the yoga pants because we weren't going anywhere. And so it's very timely, I think, that you're kind of going forward with that right now as everyone's stepping back out into the world and ready to do something new. So if women are looking for making that change, what are some tips that we can give them?
The first tip is this: who is it that you want to be? That lays the foundation. You have to decide who it is you want to be. And and I've always had an ideal of the woman I wanted to be. And it has always stayed with me. So that's the first key: decide who it is you want to be.
Yeah. And you can really tell, like you say, when you go out, and it doesn't really matter how old someone is. And you can tell when they just take that little bit of extra time and how much more confident they move and get around in there. I know sometimes it's hard when you're at home with kids and you're young and you've got so many demands going on to take that time to spend on yourself. Do you have any tips for women that might be in that situation?
Yeah, well, once upon a time, I was a mom of a small um, child as well, but it was always important to me to never lose myself. And we have all seen those women who lost themselves. We've saw them when we were young and growing up. We see them now, and I was determined that being a wife and a mom was not defining me. It was just two more roles I stepped into. So that could not be my excuse for not taking care of me. So I just say, don't make it your excuse. Find the time to take out 5 minutes, 10 minutes, jump in the shower, comb your hair. If you don't wear makeup, wash your face, do those things. Um,
Yeah.
put something on that lights you up. They're cute little dresses. You don't have to walk around, looking frumpy. That's women, I think, because you're tired and it's a lot on you as a mom and a wife. And then if you have a career, or even if you're not and you're a stay-at-home mom, that's a different kind of career.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that you have to deal with. But we're equipped for it. We would not be the ones who birth children if we weren't equipped to be powerful.
Yes, for sure. And I know I always loved watching the makeover shows on TV, especially the ones where they don't do anything that spectacular. Basically, all they do is their wardrobe, their hair, and their makeup. And every woman is so beautiful. Like women that had no idea that they could look that good with just those little
I know.
tweaks. And it's like, wouldn't it be great if there was a platform for women to go to somewhere they could just have that little makeover, because everyone is a model if they just can wear the clothes that suit them.
Yes, I totally agree. And it's really is easy. I mean, you can really go into any department store. I'm sure that I don't know how they do it now since after being a part of a global pandemic, but I know before you could go in and have makeup done complimentary. So you can always get that because you just want to see what colors may work on you, and you don't have to buy anything. You can't, if you don't want to. But you can go in and just have a complimentary thing to get an ideal. Just that kind of pampering is a game changer. You know, for any woman to do. It's just taking the time to say, put yourself as a priority.
Yeah. And I think, like we say, back at this age again, and it is that power age where we really have a choice of how we want to go forward in life. Like some women are ready to retire and do other things. Some women are just starting out. I know I'm basically starting a new business. I'm almost 60 years old. I feel like I'm just getting going. And we have that option. And there's so many things we can do. I mean, I know with you, you're continuing your education. Women can
Yeah.
do that. Yeah. Tell them a little bit about what you're doing there.
Well, one of the things, I have always loved school, and so I have always gone back to school for master's degrees and stuff. And I sort of like dabbled in the idea of having a doctorate in something, but I didn't want a traditional doctorate. And I was like, I didn't want it for like having the corporate career. What doctorate could I have? And I didn't know. But once you put the ideal out there, it comes to you. So I'm actually working on my doctorate in metaphysical science. And so I'm so excited because it's so in alignment to the coaching work and really all the work I do, because really it comes down to who you're being. Who is it I want to be? What is it I want to do? What is it I want to have? That's the thing when you really tap in to the spiritual, metaphysical components of who we are as human beings, having as spiritual beings having this human experience is so powerful to dive into. And so doing that, and that's just fun, and that's just a thing I'm doing for myself. But
Yeah.
talk about, stepping into something, a new journey and a new career, a new dream, late 50s, 60s, and all the things, is that you really have to say it's not too late. If you are alive and breathing and functioning and something is pulling your heart in a direction, you owe it to yourself to at least go for it. You owe it. I mean, you just cannot, be that person who doesn't go for it because you think you were too old. And, the learning curve, or the timing, you may think, oh, it's too late. I should have done it so and so time. I know I find myself, having those thoughts uh, with trying to master the other social media sites that I did
Yeah.
not pay attention to. And I'm like, I have to get that language out of my head because I'm like, no, this is the time. This is the time for me, and it's going to grow.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot to learn for sure. I mean, we really have to take note of technology and the options that are out there. But the good thing is there's lots of help too. So if we want someone to reach out to, there's a lot of people that can help us because we can't always do it alone, but at least we can make
No,
the
you can't do
steps.
it alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's
cannot
nice.
do it alone.
Nice to have that support. And like you say, if there is something, I always say to people too, like, what do you want to be known for? Or what do you want people to think of you later? Like, and is there a regret? Because I know when they've done the interviews of people that are dying and, to see if they have any regrets, they never regret that they um, didn't do so. Like they always regret that there's something they didn't do. And
Right.
so we still have that chance. And we don't know how long we're going to be here. So we just have to make the best of it while we're here. Super
Yes,
exciting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It is.
So what kinds of things are women going to see if they're looking you up on social media? Uh, what are they going to see?
Well, my one big message that I really want women to get is just to don't be invisible. To just don't hide. We live in a society that doesn't celebrate women getting older. Um, I on purpose, stopped dyeing my hair, and the whole thing that some people are offended that I have gray hair. I
Mm.
like had my first like comment on my YouTube channel of somebody like literally did the like throw up emoji and all that. And I was like, is that serious? Really? You're that offended? Why? And I thought this is somewhere in the language of society. It's gotten like it's not cool to grow older. But I think, of course, it is very cool because I'm here and I
Yeah.
want to be here and I want to show women to not hide and shrink and allow themselves to use their clothes to be one of the things that support them in shining and being visible. And just, the whole thing about find your Fab Factor is find your personal style. What does that look like? And allow it to support your, if you're in business, support your brand. Or even if you're not in business, just support the brand of you, the who you be brand is a big brand. And so, when you're going out and doing things, having people notice you and not being seen, it's just not fun for women as we get older. And so that's the biggest message, is to just love yourself and don't shrink and
Yeah.
hide.
Yeah. That's so awesome. And I think actually the pandemic has helped with that as far as the gray hair part, because a lot of women weren't able to get out to get their hair done. And that's what caused the shift. And I do believe we're at the beginning of the curve where it's being okay to age gracefully, especially when people like Jamie Lee Curtis out there, that look beautiful and still are aging gracefully. We don't have to go and get a whole bunch of, different things done to us. If we don't want to, we can still look good as we grow older. Um, so
Yeah. Because here's the deal. Food you eat, exercise will keep you looking young.
yeah, yeah, so important. All of that nutrition, how we move, sleeping, the basics, right?
The
Um,
basics.
yeah. So if people want to learn more about you, Doris, where would they go to? What's the best place to connect with you and learn more about you?
So the best place is to find me on Instagram and join my Instagram community, or either at I am the Fabulous Dorris Burch. So you can find me on Instagram at I am the Fabulous Dorris Burch. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, and we will have all that in the show notes for the folks that are listening when they want to find out more about that. And just keep that in mind, women, as you're aging and we're aging gracefully. Maybe it's time to bump up your style and how you're going to go forward from here. So if you are still ready to make a change, go and find your Fab Factor, because it is never too late.